So I did spill my coffee this week. On May 4th, I spilt it and then later, yesterday, I spilt it Let's dive into all this right now. All right, and welcome everybody to another episode of the Market Value Chart Show, right here at 6 Scale Cantina. So first, this coming Saturday, May 8th, the Market Value Chart Show will be live. Same time, same station, 6 p.m. Eastern. I am so excited to talk about this whole week, and the recording of this video is just Wednesday night. Who knows if there's going to be more news later tonight, Thursday, Friday, leading up to Saturday. And we're going to have Nate from Geekin' Out back in the Cantina on the panel. We're also going to have Mike from the Action Figure Cave back with us. Really looking forward to having Mike back with us to discuss all of this. And we're also going to have a couple of other special guests. Again, this coming Saturday, May 8th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And as a prerequisite to that, I'm going to be the special guest once again on the Man of Hot Collectibles live show on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So me and Dante are going to go ahead and talk a lot of this stuff up, and I'm really looking forward to diving into all of this with him, and that's going to be a great show as well, and that is going to lead us to the Market Value Chart Show live, again, this coming Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm so pumped up to be talking about this with all of you there. So why? Why is the Dark Jedi Aries that serves up all the Star Wars Hot Toys talk so pumped up? Well, first let me tell you, getting so many questions, are you happy? Aries, do you like all these releases? Yes. I think that Hot Toys really did an amazing job putting all of these figures out. But really, the thing that blew me away, at least so far, unless something else happens later tonight, Wednesday night, possibly Thursday or Friday, what really blew me away, folks, is this. I mean, I've been looking for this figure, as many of you, for a long time. But you know how this figure goes with all the joint problems and different things with parts. If you want to try and find it without problems, it's $700 plus to over $1,000 to get this figure. Much like the Tamashii Nations diecast C-3PO, which I also look for. But, you know, I have a hard line that I draw on secondary market. If I got to pay over a penny over $400, I'm not getting it. I don't care if I got to wait forever for the figure. And this has just been out of my league to get this figure. But man, $285 and a 6-scale General Grievous, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to give us this cape. I mean, this looks sick, everybody. Look at this. Absolutely blown away, and I absolutely, that's when my coffee, that's when I jumped up, and everything went crazy, because this was like, I was not expecting this. And am I disappointed that it's not Hot Toys that is doing this? No, I'm not disappointed. I don't care if ABC Company, XYZ Company, 123 Company, 7, 8, 9, 10 Company puts this out. And I've seen the reviews on this anyway. This is an absolutely outstanding figure. It does have problems. Right here, you get it with the cape. And I don't know, with all these years later, is it possible? I didn't hear anything about it that they will fix some of these issues or put some enhancements in there. I'm not sure. But even if they don't, I am just super stoked. I don't go crazy with my poses anyway, with any of these high-end collectibles. And with this one, this is just going to be absolutely fine. Now, Am I going to go ahead and get the Hot Toys version of Grievous if they put that out? Absolutely. I'm a Hot Toys guy. I love Hot Toys, so I'm definitely going to get this. But am I going to sell this when I get the Hot Toys version? No. I have multiple. This is a character that I personally, really like. I'll probably put one in the Clone Wars, shelf, and I'll have one, with the prequels figures. Exactly how I do. I got multiple Vaders, multiple, Fetts, multiple Lukes. This kind of thing is multiple R2s. It wouldn't matter to me at all. For $285 in this figure, absolutely fill the bill. When Hot Toys comes out with it, I'll use that one for either the prequel section or the Clone Wars section, whatever one I want to do, and that's what I would handle it. But man, this absolutely blew me away. And you have to wonder, is it possible that Sideshow really saved the vibe for the Hot Toys releases on May 4th, the exact day? And I say, yes, they did. Look, I like the releases that they come out with. Let's real quickly take a look at some of these. First of all, this Echo, absolutely outstanding. And I called that they were going to come out with Echo or Hunter or both at the onset of the season and not at the end, because I just thought that they were going to go ahead and do that, especially when you have Filoni at the helm. There was no way this was going to be terrible, this show. So for me, and I was calling for clones, and to get a couple of these guys here, this is this is just absolutely outstanding, and it's showing best-selling wise, which we're going to get to in a little bit. But this is an absolutely outstanding, beautiful piece. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. And do I? And let's go to this this one here. $220 for a Stormtrooper, and for many people, including myself, this is absolutely going to fill the void. In my original trilogy collection, and and to be able to get two of these, one for the Mandalorian, and one for there, and $220, and this is a fantastic release for $220. So yes, very, very happy with this. Very, very happy with that. I'm going to get a Stormtrooper, so that's really good. Let's go to this one. I like this release. It's almost like an accessory pack, and it's Grogu, and Grogu is the hottest thing that has happened for Star Wars in a long time, and this is also showing very favorably in the best-selling wise, and yeah, to get all these other creatures with it, and these almost like an accessory pack with this. It'd be nice if they actually did this with some accessories and not just called as for other figures. But I like this. It's a good release. And this Blurrg, I called the Blurrg. I called it a mythosaur in a couple of videos, but you all know what I meant. I told you this was coming. And I also had this on a banner. This Kuiil on the banner several episodes ago. And wow, look at that. Look at how they captured this. This is this is a great figure. So you can see I'm liking this stuff already. And just going over these. And of course you've got, this here you go, another 2-pack. They give you the Blurrg by itself. But this should tell you the story. Is Hot Toys done? Are they done with 2-packs? And I can tell you that I got a feeling that the answer is no. And more 2-packs are forthcoming. But these all dropped on May 4th, and for this General Grievous just made all of those so much more special to me. And case in point as to why. So, let's use the holidays and Christmas. And whether you celebrate Christmas or you don't celebrate it, but you use the holidays to still exchange gifts, and I have a lot of friends who do that, what have you. To use that as an example, if you're a kid and you're looking forward to the holidays, you're looking forward to Christmas morning or whatever holiday it is that you go ahead and look forward to all year to get your toys, you have certain expectations of that thing that you really wanted, that thing that you have been calling out for. And I felt like with Hot Toys, they gave us a lot of really cool figures that without the cherry on the top. It's almost like, let me use a birthday as an example. So it's almost like, hey, I got you a brand new remote control car, a $300 epic remote control car, and I gave it to you 2 weeks before your birthday just to give it to you. Oh, okay, thanks. That's awesome. That's what we went and got, with this Ahsoka. We got this really cool $315 remote control car, 2-3 weeks before our birthday for no rhyme or reason. And then here comes my birthday, and I'm all excited about my birthday. Oh, what am I going to get? And here's a couple of packs of M&Ms and some Twizzlers and maybe a cup of coffee that I could spill on myself, which is cool because I like all of those things. But it's kind of like, why didn't you give me the pack of M&Ms and the cup of coffee 2 weeks ago and save the remote control car, the $350 remote control car, the Ahsoka Tano for the birthday? It's kind of like, I don't like to use this word, but in a way, because the way that they set this up was almost underwhelming. Not disappointed, but just underwhelming. And so, I think marketing-wise, now the week's not over. There might be a plan for this. They might be blowing us away with something Wednesday night. I think that there's another booth tour or something on Thursday. Well, who knows? They could be coming out with something Thursday. They could be coming out with something Friday. They could be, showing us, the Hunter. Showing us the Kuiil. Maybe they got, some of these other figures that they're going to release. But the point is even if they do, on May 4th, and not to have anything May 5th, I was thinking, okay, they have the Dark Side booth that are doing this with Sideshow. It's kind of like, okay, Sideshow waited for the Dark Side booth to go ahead and show us this. That makes sense. No problem. I get it. Cool. But didn't happen. It didn't happen. And not that that's a problem, but I felt like when you went ahead and you showed us Ahsoka, there was an expectation that on the birthday, that on the holiday, and, May 4th is a very special holiday for a lot of Star Wars fans, including myself. And I thought that maybe, perhaps it's possible, that they just missed the boat on that a little bit. Now, if they go ahead, and release Luke tomorrow and this one or that one or the Clone Wars Kenobi, sure, I think that that's good and it's a great week and I'm all pumped up here anyway with all these things. But the point is even if they do, even if they give us Mace tomorrow or they give us Grievous tomorrow or the Clone Wars Kenobi tomorrow or Asajj Ventress or Savage Opress or Cad Bane or something out of this world, it didn't happen on May 4th. But this happened on May 4th. So for me, well, it didn't happen exactly on May 4th, but it happened in the other booth, which I was waiting with bated breath on. So this, for me, is what did it. So is it possible that this actually helps all the hype for all these figures and it's not even a Hot Toys figure? And I say, yes, it absolutely does. And for me, did I actually pre-order this figure with all talking about it? Absolutely I did, because I saw it for $285. And what if Hot Toys does release it? Like I said, I have a Clone Wars section that I'm going to build. I've got a prequel section. I can use this figure in 2 other places. I'm probably for the price of the Hot Toys one. it's probably going to be a little expensive, so I'm only going to get one. So then having this one at a more reasonable price, and I have both of them, and it's good. And this certainly fills the void in the short term. And wow, just how exciting this is. And I think it works hand in hand with all the other releases. Furthermore, in this particular figure here, you know, Hot Toys is king of all the head sculpts, and really a lot of the figures. But this one here doesn't really, and this isn't a human head sculpt anyway. It's if you know all the story about Grievous and his backstory, and coming from his planet, and he's an alien, then got all the robotic, and all the different functions and whatnot. But in all intents and purposes, he's it's not a human head sculpt. And Hot Toys did a really good, Sideshow did a really good job on this. So it's not like, okay, trying to compare this head sculpt to the Hot Toys head sculpt is apples and oranges. Sure. Do I think that the Hot Toys version of Grievous is going to be superior to this? Most likely it will be. But does that mean that I'm depressed that I got this? No. Like I said, I'm gonna use a couple of these anyway. So this worked out for me just absolutely perfect, if that makes sense at all. But yeah, it's a little bit it's interesting. But yeah, I like all these releases. Let's go ahead though. That's my thought on Grievous. I did go ahead and pre-order it. Am I pumped up? Yes. And we were talking a lot about Grievous, and while Hot Toys didn't answer the bill yet, they still might this week, or they might very soon this year. Certainly Sideshow answered the call with all the chat about collectors wanting Grievous. And I absolutely am just over the moon excited for this figure, for sure. But let's go ahead and actually go to Hot Toys and sort this out, the Hot Toys on Sideshow, sort it out best-selling wise, and see where a lot of these are falling. Now, I will tell you, I already know where a lot of these are falling. And as far as they're falling right where my thoughts are about, where I think these figures are, and also from a personal collecting perspective on where these are. So again, we already talked about Echo and the Stormtrooper Commander, and those being right next to Ahsoka Tano. That's exactly how I feel. I was very happy with Echo. I'm very happy with the Stormtrooper, very well needed for the collection. Obviously, a lot of collectors are feeling that way. Look at that. Right next to Ahsoka, and ahead of the best car Mandos, the IG-11, and that Rex, which is tracking high. So definitely a lot of excitement for Star Wars Hot Toys right now with those releases. Let's go ahead and go down with these releases too. You can see even the Grogu. The Grogu's ahead of the non-deluxe Ahsoka and right next to Rex. So this is another. Like I said, I think this is a good release. And I'm getting that too. Am I going to get this? Yes. Am I going to get the Stormtrooper Commander? Probably two of them. Am I going to get the Echo? Yes. Just one. Just one. Let's continue to go down and just look at some of these releases. Wow. So, okay. That's what I want to get to here. These are a little bit down. And that's a little bit troublesome. That's a little bit worrisome this early on with this much hype and showing that these figures are all the way down here. Is it possible that this Blurrg and this Mandalorian with the Blurrg are going to be bottom feeders here? Much like these quarter scale figures, once these settles out in the next few weeks for the Mandalorian. And I say, yes, I think that they will be. Now, I've been getting questions because we're going to get into a lot of the waitlist questions and some of the secondary market questions, which I'll be happy to try and address for you. Everybody's, wondering about, OG Mando now. It's available here with the Mandalorian and the Blurrg. Yes, but folks, it's not available on its own like the Blurrg. They did this 2-pack thing again. You can get the Blurrg by itself, but you can't get the OG Mandalorian by itself. And, one of the very interesting things about that, if you're wondering how they actually thought this OG Mandalorian was going to sell if they reissued it by itself, I'll go ahead up and put some comparisons up on the screen. They don't think it's going to sell as much as this did. This is a reissue. And they don't think it's going to sell, as much as this did. And this is a reissue. And whether you're looking at Darth Vader here from The Empire Strikes Back, the 40th anniversary packaging, which is what this one is, or this reissue of the Attack of the Clones Yoda, which is also what this one is. When you go ahead and look at, like, using these two figures as an example within the secondary market, I'm going to go ahead and pull a couple of those up onto the screen. And let me go ahead and show it right now. And pulling up a Darth Vader back from May 3rd. $355 with 43 bids, not including the $20 in shipping. Perfect feedback. Almost 9,000 feedback. This is very quickly hitting the $400 tier range where I predicted it would go. Between $400 and $500, even with the reissue. It doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and take a look at a Yoda. And you can see right here, back from May 3rd, 58 bids, $328. Perfect feedback, not including the $10.75 in shipping, not including taxes. Let's pull up another Vader. And again, this isn't a Market Outlook edition. And I can't wait to get into these in a little bit. On the show Saturday, on the show next week, $349.99, May 3rd. And these are reissues. So, is it possible? Is it possible that this OG Mandalorian is going to tank? Even though the Empire Strikes Back version of Darth Vader is not tanking. And even though the Attack of the Clones Yoda is not tanking. Is this particular OG Mandalorian figure going to tank? Because there is now a set available for collectors to pick up, which is a very steep $555, which is not including shipping, which is not including taxes. So, because this is available for $600 retail, is that going to go ahead and tank? I say no. Look, I was saying the last few episodes, go back and watch them, that I thought that the OG Mandalorian was most likely going to be a $400 tier range figure, that it might be $450. And I was saying, is it possible that it can go into the $500 tier range? And I was watching all of this lately, and I said, we'll have to keep an eye on it. And is that still my same position on this figure? Yes. I can tell you right now that Grand Moff Tarkin is selling well into the $600 tier range. But yet you can go ahead and get the 2-pack with the A New Hope Darth Vader. And that's a different Darth Vader than what's available, the first reissue of that Darth Vader. And you can go ahead and pick that up for $800 tier range. And sometimes in the high $700 tier range. And people are still not wanting to spend the extra few bucks for the 2-pack. They just want to save a little bit of money and get Tarkin for $600. And I think that that is going to be the same case here. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to pay over $600 to get this OG Mandalorian if you don't have it within your collection. So is somebody like Tarkin, they're willing to pay $600? Is somebody or close to $700 for that figure by itself? Is a collector going to be willing to spend $400 for that figure? $425? $450? And I say yes. Look, is it going to dip back and forth? Sure. I see it right now selling, for anywhere, it was selling last week, $425, $450. Recent happenings like this Did it drop a tiny bit for a very, very short time? Sure. You can go ahead and see that it's dropping slightly. You know, pulling up a recent auction for this figure here. Reputable seller. You can see right up here on the screen. Hawk Wars Toys, just a listing, not an auction. Sold $399, $390, excuse me, US. Absolutely. Listing. Not including the $23 in shipping, though, and not including taxes. Well over $400. Are you going to be able to pick this up right now for $375, $360? Sure. But going ahead and going back, so pulling this up, and where everything is stacking up, best-selling wise, especially with all the hype, this 2-pack with the Blurrg is not tracking like Nightmare Batman and Dark Suit Superman, folks. It's not tracking like the 2-pack Boba Fett, which was #1 for almost a month. So obviously it was going to drop down. It's not tracking like that. It's starting off pretty bad. I mean, even the Dark Trooper was #1 for a week, and you see where that is as a bottom feeder. Is it possible that this is going to go lower? And you have to wonder, how many of this Mandalorian and Blurrg are they actually going to produce? Is it possible that they will need an early, unsealed and revealed for this, like they did for the Scout Trooper and Bike? I mean, the way this is looking right now, they may need 2 unsealed and reveals for this figure. I'm not saying it's not good, but I think for some collectors, it's not for them. For me personally, I like this release. I think it looks good, but I don't personally collect vehicles. That's why I got the DX16 over the DX17. I just don't have the room, and I don't have focus on that right now to be able to keep my collection streamlined and my budget, which we're going to go over here in a little bit later in this Hot Toys Talk edition of the Market Value Chart Show. But no, I am not getting this figure. Now, if it came with a Pedro Pascal head sculpt, it probably would suck me into getting it. Just like with that deluxe Boba Fett, that's the only way to get the Tamora Morrison figure and that head sculpt. But I'm not buying this for $555. It doesn't fit within my collection. And I'm telling you that I set this up by saying my budget to get a figure within the secondary market, like that Grievous, is $400 all in. If it's a figure I really want, but I've never been able to get that Grievous or that Tamashii Nations C-3PO for that price. Now, I recently was able to, got a real scoop, brand new. I got a New Hope Obi-Wan Kenobi for $370 shipped and everything. That was $30 below my limit. Been looking for that for a long, long time. And I did get that. That's something that I really want. Still more than what I want to do, but only with something I really want. But would I spend $370, $400 on this if I didn't have it versus $555 for the set? I would. Again, it's just the way that I collect. It's not that it's right, but I mentioned this before. If somebody offered me the Mud Trooper for $150, I wouldn't take it, because I'd rather take the $150 and put it towards Clone Wars Maul, Clone Wars Ahsoka, the Death Watch Mandalorian, the 501st, the Lando figure, the Anakin figure, the Tusken Raider figure, so the Moff Gideon. There's so many. Well, areas you could go ahead and sell it and make a little bit, yeah, but it's too much trouble. I do that if I need to expand the collection with figures that I already have and I'm looking to, I'll go ahead and sell a few to be able to transfer another one and build the collection, or if I'm getting out of a line. But just to go ahead and sell, okay, I can give me for $150, and okay, I went ahead and made $100 because I got a lot of irons in the fire, everybody. And time is money. And if I can make $75 profit all in, or even $100 all in, but I'm subtracting from other things that generate money for me, time is money. It's not worth it for me for one figure. So I'm going to take that $150, I'm going to save my time, and I'm going to put it towards those figures. So I would go ahead, and so will some other collectors, just buy the OG Mandalorian. So to answer the question of, is the OG Mandalorian now going to be where the Sith Trooper is? No. Is it just going to be a $300 figure? No. Because you have to spend $555, it's over $600 to get it. And just as I've mentioned, with bringing up these other figures, these weren't even in a 2-pack. These were just single releases, which they sold a whole lot more of. Whole lot more mass production. Whole lot more quantities out there. And you're seeing this is going right back to where once it was before. It'll be right between $450 to $500. And the Yoda is going higher than it was before they reissued it. So, no, I really don't believe that it will. Is it possible? Sure. Anything's possible. It can be like the Sith Trooper. Sure, it's possible. Anything's possible. You never know what's going to happen with the economy, with anything. Who knows? But do I really think it's going to? No. I think, like I've been saying, it's going to be, at the end of the day, a $400 to $450 tier range figure. And as far as how many they're going to make of these, they're going to need an unsealed and revealed before it comes out for sure. I just don't see a whole lot of this right now. And I think that while they're focusing Hot Toys on a lot of Mandalorian, and you're seeing that it is true, they're selling very, very high, and that is where people are putting their money. I just think with this one, I think there's a lot of Mandos out there. I think that they maybe they're not ready with the Pedro Pascal head sculpt, or they're waiting to come out with another version of that figure. I think that one would do very, very well. I just think that there's so many Mandos out there. And the same thing also with this, they didn't release this yet. What's going to happen with the Mandalorian and the Swoop Bike? Is it going to be the same thing? And maybe a little different with this. I mean, the bike looks incredible. So does the Blurrg. But again, there is a lot of I don't know. We'll have to see. It is the Mandalorian, but this is very similar. It looks like a couple of differences, but very similar to the Beskar Mandalorian. For me personally, I have the OG Mandalorian, and I have the Beskar Deluxe Mandalorian. Again, I don't collect bikes, so I just don't focus on my collection. For me, this is no, unless they give me a head sculpt with this one, which it looks like so far that they're not. Are other collectors going to feel this way? I don't know. And how much will this be? Will this actually be the price of just a Scout Trooper? I actually think that this is going to be higher, because if they're going to give you many of the things that actually came with the Beskar Mandalorian, even the non-deluxe one, it'll be a higher price point. So I think it's possible that this will be, very close to the, $550, $5 you're seeing that Blurrg and Mandalorian. And this is a whole other story. There's so many Beskar Mandalorians out there, you have to wonder where those are going to sit within the secondary market. But that's a different conversation in and of itself. But as far as OG Mandalorian, I think you're fine. I never thought it was going to be between a $500 or $600 figure ultimately, because I said eventually they were going to come out with maybe a credit edition or some type of a vision or edition of that. Any way that they can go ahead. The Mandalorian is very, 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 very hot right now. It is becoming its own iconic character. So, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can only get that in a 2-pack. And, this opens up the door now for other figures that people are concerned about. Is it possible that the animated Boba Fett can be reissued in a 2-pack? And that one goes for almost $700. Is it possible that they would actually put that in a 2-pack with the vintage color Boba Fett? Maybe even make some differences within that, within the animated Boba Fett, maybe to reflect the one more that's on Disney Plus right now, a couple of differences. I've already mentioned that I say yes, they might not have with everything that they're coming out enough to justify, unless it's a con exclusive or a limited run, to just reissue vintage color Boba Fett at this point, or the animated Boba Fett. But if they make a 2-pack, and they would save money on the packaging and a lot of the other things, putting them in one, I can actually see them doing that. I've also mentioned this with Dark Side Anakin. You know, is it possible that they would go ahead and reissue Dark Side Anakin? They'd probably do it the same way that they're reissuing these Mandalorians, like the OG Mandalorian on the Blurrg. And to me, really, the Mandalorian on the Swoop Bike's a reissue anyway, too. And the same way that they reissued the Nightmare Batman with the Dark Suit Superman. I think they're going to give you the Dark Side Anakin. It's going to hit the $1,000 tier range eventually, and they're going to give it to you in a 2-pack without the base, with something else. And sure, that's going to bring the value of that figure down, because someone's probably like, well, I'll get the 2-pack for $600 or $555 or $495 or whatever price that 2-pack would be. That would include the Dark Side Anakin, and for that figure, selling well into the $800 tier range, and many times now into the 900s. Yes, that's a no-brainer to get that set. So I think with a lot of these, there is some potential. Let's go ahead and go to the next figures I want to go ahead and speak to. So going back up and bringing up the Sideshow again, best-selling wise. And let's go ahead and see some of the other figures that are not the releases now. Let's go ahead and move on to going from that. That's segue into waitlist, because everyone was asking me questions about the OG Mandalorian. Hopefully, that gave you my thoughts on where I think that's going to go. The second question was, you can see right here next to the two Beskar Bandos, IG-11. What do I think of IG-11? Areas are they going to go ahead and reissue IG-11? Is it possible that they reissue IG-11? And I say no. I think they're going to give you IG-88. I think they might give you different IG units. But to give you this IG-11 with this exact weathering from Season 1, no. Even though this hit waitlist, and then I wasn't surprised. I knew it was going to go back. It's like that Vader went in and out of waitlist. This one's going to go in and out of waitlist. It went out, and it stayed in a little bit longer. It went out. It's going to go back in. It's close to being done, folks. That's the story with this figure. But they have stock to sell. Just like when Vader came back in stock, they had stock to sell. They're not at a point with this figure where they're going to reissue it like the OG Mandalorian. Furthermore, nobody really knows outside of the fandom who IG-11 really is. They know who the Mandalorian is. They know who Baby Yoda is. IG-11 is a very low-tier character, and it's not a character that they are going to reissue anytime soon. They're going to use it for IG-88. They're going to use it for different reiterations. I don't see them going ahead and reissue this figure. But Ares, they went ahead and just did the OG Mandalorian. Well, that's the OG Mandalorian, guys. IG-11 is not the OG Mandalorian. It's not an epic character like this. And this one's having enough problems being reissued where they can't reissue it by itself. They have to reissue it in a $555 2-pack. But IG-11 is not this. And IG-11 is certainly not this. And no way is IG-11 this. And before they reissue IG-11, you can bet your bottom dollar that they would reissue Dark Side Anakin, regular Anakin, Count Dooku, Obi-Wan Kenobi, either of them, so on and so forth. Jyn Erso, Chirrut, K2SO before they reissue that figure. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to use the mold to give you different variations of that droid. I don't think they're going to be able to make enough, sell enough of IG-11 for that to happen. Now, what does that mean for waitlist? Is this now going to be like the Incinerator Trooper? No, nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is it went on waitlist, and it went out of waitlist. And it'll go back in waitlist, might go out again, and then when it goes on, it's done. That's how a lot of this stuff goes. And as far as, I get people asking me all the time, is it possible that Sideshow they have a task force assigned to look at IG-11 or a certain hot toy figure to make it hit blue screen or waitlist so that you panic to buy it? I think that that's a nice thought, but for a company as large and as big and as massive as Sideshow, I think it is very unlikely that with all the hundreds and upon hundreds and hundreds, or probably thousands of pieces of merchandise that they're selling, that the $70 to $90 profit that they're making on IG-11 is not something that they're concerned about. Like, oh, we're sweating bullets. If we don't do that, we're going to be stuck with IG-11 for as long as that Jawa and Gonk droid. If they were going to do that, folks, I say they would need to do it with the Jawa and Gonk droid. Or how about these jet troopers? Maybe go ahead and play a little shenanigans with that, right? Because these things are going to be in here for forever and a day. But I've been telling you for a while that IG-11 was going to go. It really doesn't need any help. They can go ahead and sit pretty on that. That isn't happening. And they didn't need to do that with Darth Vader. This is a Hot Toys Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader. They're not sweating bullets. We got to get rid of the last 400 we have. Or if that's all they had of that, no, they might be sweating bullets on what they're going to do with these jet troopers. Maybe there's Jawa and Gonk droid. But I just don't see it, and I don't think that they're playing games. I don't think a company of that size is going to do that. I understand it's a nice thought because it's kind of like we're getting this sometimes. It's like we're a yo-yo going up and down, like again. And that brings me to panic buying. And I brought this up before. I used the example of the Mud Trooper. It went on waitlist before getting in stock. And I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and I didn't care. Because I wasn't getting that figure, and I'm not interested in that figure. And it didn't fit within my collection. But I followed the hype, because I always say, follow the hype, but don't fall for the hype. Because if that's going to happen with a figure that I do want, I need to know. Because it did happen with the heavy infantry Mandalorian. And I don't pre-order every figure unless I'm epically excited or it's a limited edition like that Grievous and I'm a little bit weary about it. I didn't pre-order the new Grogu accessory one. I didn't pre-order the Echo. I didn't pre-order the Stormtrooper Commander. Nor am I going to. Am I going to get them? Am I on the fence on them? There's no fence. I'm buying them. I can't tie up $25 every minute here and there. Some collectors do that, and if that's the way you budget, it's good. Continue to do that. For me, I can't tie up the money that way, and I know that there's other collectors that feel the same way that I talk to. Commander Cody came in stock, and I had plenty of time to pick up that figure, which I did. It's sitting there behind me. But I didn't want to tie it up. I like to look at the final production photos, and I like for it to get in stock. And then sometimes I can actually use codes. In case you don't know this, there are Sideshow codes that you get that don't work on pre-orders, but do work on stuff that's in stock. There's a myriad of reasons why I don't do it. But if I would have not have followed the waitlist hype for this heavy infantry Mandalorian, I wouldn't have this figure. For two reasons. It's $450. And I don't buy figures that are over $400. That's why I don't have General Grievous. Sure, can I sell 3 figures to go get that? Can I not buy a couple of figures and already have this General Grievous? Sure, I can have it. Can I have the Tamashii Nation? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I can have any 12-back vintage mock, AFA graded. But I'm not buying it on the figure. I draw the line. That's how I stay focused. So I would not be having this figure. I would not have the heavy infantry Mandalorian in any way, shape, or form, because I'm just not going to spend $450 on this figure. But I followed it, and I was like, oh, okay, I got to put it down now. I got to go ahead and buy it now. So that's what I did, and that is why it's important to follow the wait list hype. Because if you're like me and you're not going to put all this money down on the figures, now, like I was saying before, it is very rare for a figure to hit waitlist. But there's so much going on. First of all, so much has went on with COVID-19. And even though movie theaters are back open, still so many people are watching things stream-wise. There's going to be more attention for hot toys and figures to come out with movie-based characters, with television, live-action show, television show-based figures. TMS is going to go way up, and MMS is going to go down. That's just the new wave of the world. There's things that are different. So what you're seeing right now is stuff like this heavy infantry Mandalorian, this IG-11, the going ahead and the Scout Trooper and the bike. I think that there's a very big chance that is going to go on waitlist, because I just don't think that they made a whole lot of them, which is why they need the unsealed and revealed. As a matter of fact, I doubt that is going to go into stock. Let me see if I can pull up a couple of others over here. I think that this figure, I would be very surprised if this makes it into stock. And it's a perfect storm, because a lot of people, it was controversial, the rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi, and there hasn't been a lot of attention, whether you like it or not. They're just not making a whole lot of this figure. It's just a weird perfect storm right now. But yes, Star Wars is popular because of the Mandalorian. And this figure was, they knocked this out of the park. I mean, do I have this pre-ordered? I sure do, because I don't think it's going to get in stock. And if it does get in stock, I don't see this lasting more than a few weeks. The point is, are you right or wrong? It got in stock. This ain't going to sit in there for as long as the Jet Troopers. You've got The Last Jedi Kylo Ren tracking between $400 and $500 that it's selling for. So the average is $400, low $400. This isn't a bottom feeder in the secondary market. And in many ways, this is just as good, if not better, than The Last Jedi Kylo Ren. This isn't going to make it go into stock. They didn't make very many of these. So I am getting this figure because I don't want to spend over $400 on The Last Jedi Kylo Ren. And I'm following it so I know to put my pre-order down. And I got my own channel, the Market Value Chart Show, and I don't pre-order everything. So the point is you need to follow the hype. It's not that you fall for the hype. It's not like that you're like some type of lemming, or like zombie, or oh yes, just oh this. I mean, you can't do that. The same thing with this Rey. I've heard so many comments on this Rey. It looks like Wasp. Looks like Jennifer Garner. Well, those are all very, very wonderful actresses, so I guess that's a compliment. Well, I guess what they're trying to say is the head sculpt doesn't look like Daisy Ridley. So no, I don't think it would sell really good, because it's a lot of people aren't excited about it. But, you can look at it here. I mean, but again, I brought this up before. There's the secret base photo. It looks a lot better. And just like this Kylo Ren, is it possible that they're going to go ahead and fix the Rey as well, because they fixed the Kylo Ren? And they fixed the Tony Stark head sculpt a couple weeks ago? And I say, yes. And if you thought the heavy infantry Mandalorian went on waitlist, And there's a potential the IG-11 goes back on there. Rey's going to go on there. They're just not going to make a lot of it. And I had to pre-order that figure because I'm going to absolutely buy that figure. But if I wait for it to get in stock like Cody does, or like most of them do, the majority of the time, I don't like being rushed. I don't like being pressured to have to buy or pre-order something. I pre-order if it's an exclusive, if it's a limit one, or it's a limited edition, or it has some peculiarities, like what's going on with Star Wars right now, which is a combination of so many factors dealing with the change of the world and COVID-19 and the controversy of the sequel trilogy, but the excitement of the new Mandalorian and the upcoming content. It just makes for a lot of things that are just not entirely stable all the time. So it's important to follow the hype. And that's also important, like, why does it matter if IG-11 or OG Mandalorian, if it sells like the Sith Trooper or it sells below retail? Well, you're spending $200 to $300 on Hot Toys figures, on action figures. So while you're not, let me say this. When you're collecting Hot Toys or you're collecting any kind of action figures or collectibles, you shouldn't treat it like your 401k. It's not entirely stable. I can tell you right now, yes, Hot Toys can reissue anything. You know what? Sideshow can reissue anything. You know what? That company that's telling you that it's limited 400 and they'll never make it again, they can go ahead. There's always a loophole. There's always a way to make money. And a lot of time, what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. There's always a way. There's always a change. There's always a little thing that they can do to find a way to come out with that figure again. I can tell you right now, I collect Star Wars vintage mock figures, collected them for years. And then Hasbro does this. I understand that this is a Hot Toys and 1/6 channel. I'm going to use this as an example. Did this upset me? Yeah. There's thousands of dollars that goes in to some of these figures. And these are remolds. These are the same molds. This isn't a vintage collection. This is the same figures. They can say whatever they want, slightly different mold, they switch it. They brought Kenner, they brought the Kenner company. They have the licenses. That's what this is. And when you're trying to enjoy or feel good about a collection, when you have figures like this that go for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, depending if it's AFA graded or what type of seller it is, that looks at a lot of different points about these things to make sure it's authentic. It hurts. And if you're buying these 12 backs, or if you're going ahead and buying this figure, these vinyl Cape Jawas for $40,000 or $25,000, and you're thinking that that's secure, because there's no way in the world, no way possible, that Hasbro on the next San Diego Comic-Con couldn't go ahead and make a 12-back vinyl Cape Jawa. And sure, it'll have differences. It'll have the little retro collection sticker on it. But for a lot of people out there, it'll drive down the price. You do not collect these collectibles like you're making an investment in property. It is a bad idea. On the other token, it is an investment. Unless you've got $30,000 to blow on a vinyl Cape Jawa, you should really understand how the vinyl Cape Jawa, and not only that, the entire vintage mock Star Wars toy collecting hobby is going. So you know if you need to get out of it, what you should spend on it, if you need to start moving out of there. That's why it's important, why it matters. I don't want to buy IG-11 at retail if I can't sell it for at least retail and get my money back. And a lot of times you're not going to get your money back on these figures when it comes to taxes and eBay fees. But if you buy the right figures and you work the market just right, you can make sure that you have a stable collection. That even if the market collapses, you can go ahead and get your money back. And plus, it does feel good to know that some of your collectibles are actually worth more. You feel like you got a badge. Oh, I bought a good thing. For me, do I feel good that sometimes some of my figures cost more? Does that mean I'm going to go ahead and sell them? No, I'm not that. I just like having the figures. I'm going to feel pretty much a knot in my stomach if I feel like that they're going to come out with something like this, and something I spent $3,000 for is probably going to be worth $3 now. You have to understand, if you're going, and these figures were you know, you're spending $200 to $300 and sometimes over $300 retail on a Star Wars hot toy figure. Do yourself a favor. Don't bury your head in the sand and know where it is within the secondary market. Not to panic to go buy something, like there's a lot of Star Wars figures that are going high. Like the Jedi Patrol Stormtrooper. That's great. I don't need that figure in my collection. It can go $2,000. You need to understand the market so that you're able to work your collection in a comprehensive way. And you also need to know how to get out of a collection. Like I recently got out, I had every Black Series figure that there was. I had specific reasons market-wise why I got completely out of that line. And sometime in a later episode, I'll go ahead and share why I went ahead and did that. You got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them. Believe me, I had every Power of the Force orange card, Power of the Force green card, every episode 1, episode 2, episode 3 figure that there was, every Unleashed figure. I had every variant, the half circle orange card, Boba Fett, the full circle, the Darth Maul 3 3/4 with the black vest with the hood, without the hood. And you know what they're worth now? Exactly. Point is you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And I do this for fun. And I pay attention to the secondary market, because if I get a sense, if I see a pulse that something is going to go ahead and tank, or it's not going to be worth something, I might go ahead and move that particular collection so that I'm able to reinvest in something that's going to hold its value more at that time, if it makes sense. So I hope that this is helpful to you. Last segment of this show, a lot of people ask me, how do you go ahead and budget? How do you go ahead and collect without getting into debt? And all this stuff, tying it into what we're talking about. So there's no right or wrong method. I can go ahead and tell you my method. And to put it in a nutshell, the right method is you need to have a focus. So for me, one of my favorite characters of all time is Jack Sparrow. I love the Pirates of the Caribbean. I must have seen it 100 times. I love that character. As in a matter of fact, Dark Jedi Ares is pretty much made from that character in so many ways. I love that character. And that DX figure, those figures from Hot Toys are out of this world. Why don't I have that within my collection? It's not because I don't want it. I do want it. But if I want that, then I want this, and I want that, and I want everything. And we don't know how collecting goes, and you can't stop. So what I do is I put down framework. I put down barriers of where I'm allowed personally to go. So if my first love from when I was a kid is Star Wars, so I box myself in Star Wars, which helps box my budget where I'm not going to go outside the line. So what I furthermore do is I box myself and build in framework for Star Wars itself. For instance, I have a lot of troopers, but I have them in different collection than Hot Toys because it's too much and I would be in debt too much. I have to work my way up there if it's possible to do that. So I stay away from that. And I box myself out of that for now. Now, I am going to get into those. My first one's going to be the 501st. Am I getting that? Absolutely, I'm pumped. And then I'm going to build from there because that is my favorite trooper of all. So I really want the 501st and the deluxe, by the way. But I'm going to build slowly from there. The other thing that I do is I really like the head sculpts. It matters to me. So I try to focus on that. That kind of narrows it down now. But now they're coming out with so many. And you're seeing everything that they just come out with. What further can you do? You have to write down on a list what figures mean the most to you and where you're going to put them and display them in your collection and have like a game plan of how you want your display to go. I used to do that with vintage mock collectibles. I used to be all over the place. I would have Empire Strikes Back cards, with Power of the Force cards, with 12 back cards, with 2021 back cards, and it was a big hodgepodge, but I just kept wanting everything, and it was crazy. But, you know, with some collectors, like, okay, I could focus just on 12 backs. Or I can focus just on 2021 backs. Or I can focus just on 48 back Empire Strikes Back, or 42 back or 32 back Empire Strikes Back. That's it. And you build from there. And if you get that collection, you can decide, okay, I'm going to move those 32 backs and now start with another one, or you could start building to another one. And so what I'm going to have to do is the same thing. They're coming out with way too many. I'm going to write down on a list. I know where exactly what I want. And it doesn't mean I don't want the other figure, but, sometimes you have to pick and choose because there's too much out there. And then you write down on the list what's most important, and then you go ahead and budget that way. And then you just kind of force yourself not to go over that line. You kind of discipline yourself to kind of stay within that structure. Now, if things work out differently within your household and your budget, where it's like, well, I'm doing that, Aries, and I've got more money now, well, then go ahead and rework it. And you can add different things in there that kind of works in. But what I do for me is I'm like, I can't really go over. Oh, I really want that, but I'm not going to go ahead and get it. And that's why I didn't get the Mud Troopers. Not that I hate that. I actually like the figure, and why I wouldn't even pay $100 for it. It goes off my stop gates, my framework that I put down. I mean, would I change my mind in the future? I might, but I would probably have a different framework laid out. And not anyone's framework is exactly right, but you need to just figure out what you want to buy, what you want to collect, what your budget is. And then if it's still too much, you need to write down on a list what is most important to you. Many of you know what your favorite Star Wars movie is, for instance. Many of you know if you like Empire Strikes Back better than Attack of the Clones. Many of you know if you like Darth Vader better than Count Dooku. And sometimes you like them both, and sometimes you have to make a choice. And that's sometimes what you have to do. You have to narrow things down and build from there. And then if situations change, you kind of build. I'd love to have some of the collections that some of these other channel creators have that have so many more. I don't. And the thing is I'm happy, though, with collecting. And thing is to be happy. Be happy with collecting. And I don't need everything, just like I don't need every car. And I don't need every this, or I don't need every that. And I just have fun with it. And the figures that you really, really want, pay really good attention to. And I think that's, certainly one way that you can go ahead and approach collecting. Again, go ahead and build down a framework, make yourself up a list, make yourself a little blueprint, do a little drawing of how you want your collection to look, fill little gaps in from there, and then make a good decision on what's most important. And then you can have even a subsection where, like, okay, if something works out and I got a little bit extra, I can go ahead and add this. So you can have that extra column if things go ahead and work out. But at the end of the day, have fun with this and follow the secondary market, because that's what you got to do in order to do this. And so, in closing, don't be married to these figures or these collectibles to the point where it's like Frodo and the Ring. And sometimes it can be hard with a lot of these collectibles, because they are very precious. But remember, first and foremost, it's fun. And sometimes you need to be able to shuffle a collection, move a couple pieces so you could expand back. Shoot, I've known some collectors that have sold a piece to get a few extra pieces to eventually get that piece back. There's so many different ways to do this. But you need to be able to be versatile and be loose and not be so tight where you stifle yourself from being able to grow your collection, and first and foremost, having fun. And to be able to have fun, you also just need to be able to, understand and follow the secondary market and the regular market, the things that are on pre-order, the things that are, in stock, what's going to happen, with waitlist. For a lot of, like I said, for a lot of people that pre-order, it's great. You never have to worry because it doesn't matter. You've already got your NRDs in. But there's a lot of collectors like me that just don't. There's too much going on. There's too much money tied up. And if you're doing it that way, you just need to follow, because right now it's such a weird climate right now, economically, for Star Wars. As I mentioned before, that there is a handful of figures that have the potential of not getting in stock. And so you may need to pre-order them if you haven't already. And that is why we don't fall for the hype, but we follow the hype. And with that, that will bring to a conclusion this episode of the Market Value Chart Show. Please go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoy the content. And please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We have absolutely blown up here with over 1,000 subscribers in just 3 months' time. And I just so thank you so much for your support. And we're going to have our next live show, again, as I said at the onset of this video, on this Saturday, May 8th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We will have Nate from Geekin' Out back in the Cantina on the panel. Mike from the Action Figure Cave will be back with us on this episode. Really looking forward to that. We're going to have an extra special guest or two. So just tune in live on Saturday at 6 p.m. to find out who it is and chat it all up with us. I'm sure there's going to be a ton to discuss as well. Also, follow us on our brand new Facebook group, which is also blowing up. It is absolutely fabulous. What a great time we have talking hot toys. I have the link within our Facebook group within the video description below, along with our Instagram. You also want to check out the Discord group that I participate in. Great group of collectors there, great group of folks. Talk a lot about hot toys. Check them out. Remember, many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. See you on Saturday.